Okay, back at it with another video, and this time we're going to be taking a look at the Albin Countergambit. And this is one of those lines that, especially with move orders that I play normally, I don't face it. But it's like, I remember many years ago, a player going, well, why don't you play 2 knight f3? Because then there is no Albin Countergambit. And I'm revisiting this concept because why avoid something that inherently is not the best? Because pretty much any of the normal lines that aren't outside the ordinary, we'll say, are solid for black. But with 2c4, if they play the Albin, if you know some of the basic ideas that are in this video, you should be guaranteed at least a slightly better position with white. So let's go ahead and get right in. First of all, we want to take the e-pawn. And really there's only one option theoretically for black, which is to play d4. And this takes away the c3 square from our b1 knight. The other way is if they play d takes c4, well, we've both captured a pawn, but let's take stock in the position. White has a pawn on e5, which is very easily defended. Say bishop f4, knight f3, etc. by natural moves. This pawn is not easily defended. And with a king on d8, when I castle queenside, it's going to come with tempo, and I'm going to pick up even more time. So I defend the pawn, and after check, I feel like white already has pretty substantial edge moving forward here. So d4, understandably the main line. Knight f3 to keep an eye on our e5 pawn and to put the question to the d4 pawn. And now it should be noted that the early bishop b4 check is absolutely no issue, and you do not want to capture this pawn in either way because of this knight c2 check threat. And this is a common tactical theme, especially if you're doing your puzzle rush, that will pop up. And I simply like this move, knight a3, and we're going to corral the d pawn in the long term here, but we're already a pawn up. So the main line, knight c6, attacking our e5 pawn and defending the d4 pawn. This next move is a critical memory marker and extremely important to remember. It is the move a3. And it's integral to the position, because let me show you what happens if we play the natural looking e3. Well, black's able to play bishop b4 check, and when we block with either piece, he captures on e3, and this Zug is the main trap that the Albin Countergambit player is looking to implement. And after f takes, we've got this weak pawn structure forever that they can play against. We may have a pawn in hand, but this doesn't score well for white at all. Which is why a3 stops any of the tactical nonsense with bishop b4. And also it gives us the idea of being able to play b4, bishop b2, and apply even more pressure to this d4 pawn. So understandably, one line I questioned was, well, if they go a5 to try to stop us from playing b4, well, we'll go knight bd2. And on knight b3, we're just continually piling up on d4. Bishop g5, getting that tempo. And there's really no good way for black to try to maintain all the material. And I'm just going to go through this entire game because I felt like it's an excellent example. And we've got a game from Slovakia 2018 between 2600 and 2400 rated player, FIDE. And white really didn't have to do anything significant this game to win. This was just basic preparation, and then I'm going to trade down. And I love this next move, bishop c2, working the pin. It's not often we get to play moves like that. And there was kind of an interesting rook jockey here, where lots of moves on the third rank by the white rook, only to eventually get to this winning rook and pawn ending. And the key feature is the black king is so far cut off from the action that that's going to be what loses the game. And the white king and pawn will simply walk up the board. So that's the type of example game that you'll see when things are going right after this a3 variation. The main line for black is knight ge7, b4, natural enough since he didn't stop it. And he's going after our forward pawn, so we're going to go after his. b5, takes, and e3. Simply defend c4 and work the pin. Cannot capture because of queen takes d8, followed by bishop takes e5. So bishop e6 hitting our pawn. And we don't want to trade off the bishop pair in the open position. So let's go ahead and see another example game of how to clean up this position, because this position is very easy to get to, but notice the effectiveness of development that white has versus black's position. So first and foremost, if queen h4, we're going to develop, get ready to have some discovered chances on that c7 pawn with mate. So defense, understandable. We keep the attack going. Again, keep the attack going. No sense in slowing down. Takes. And we get the better of it with the minor pieces here. And still, knight a7 is a tremendous threat. Knight a7 still a tremendous threat, and didn't stop it from a game from chess.com in 2020, I'm assuming from Title Tuesday, with 2600 with white and 2400 with black. So after bishop d3, queen g5, and next move. The best moves in chess apply both attack and defense at the same time. We've got f4, hitting the queen and defending our g2 pawn with our own. g3, c3, and of course if knight takes d4, it may look optically pleasing, but it's just nothing doing as white gets out of this with extra material quite quickly. And following the main game, rook d8, we're just in the trade down game. Black's king is wide open, so we're going to play against that. And once we get our king safe, the game is over. And that was from the European Championship in 2014. So hopefully I've shown you that the Albin Countergambit is not something that should be avoided. You should welcome it. It's not a very intimidating opening once you have the few memory markers of take the e-pawn, defend the investment, and play this critical move a3. And the rest of it is going after the d4 pawn. So that'll do it for this quick line. Hopefully you're enjoying the series. If you are, please give a like, maybe a comment, subscribe, hit that little bell notification, show the support. Thanks.